Welcome to Here's How We Get There. It's the daily show filled with conversations about business and mental health in a down-to-earth style with real-world language. Now let's dive in with your co-hosts, Kenneth Shark-Kinney and Trey Tucker.
All right, Trey, we're fielding another viewer question today, and I'm going to skip the name because it's a very sensitive subject. The viewer writes, there is a lot of talk on social media and the news about trauma in general. How would someone know if they were potentially suffering from childhood trauma?
So first of all, I'm going to give some signs, 3 signs, but these are just for anybody to be curious about their own story. This is not for anybody to diagnose themselves. So first sign is if you find yourself as an adult assuming that the worst possible thing is going to happen at any given time, that's a term called catastrophizing. That usually happens because somebody probably did experience something terrible when they were growing up, and so the brain just stayed on high alert to keep that from ever happening again. Second sign would be mind reading, or you're trying to predict what other people around you are thinking or about to do. It almost becomes an obsession in your mind. That usually is a survival mechanism because your brain at that point in your younger years maybe needed to do that based on the surroundings that you might have been in or the people you grew up around. And the whole effort there is to try to see some traumatic event coming in enough time in order to avoid that. So that's second sign. Third sign to get curious about is if you over focus a lot on the negative and you minimize the positive, and we all do this to a certain extent, but if it really is an intense thing that really gets in your way in life, that could be trauma related, because if that's the case, then that was the thought pattern that was probably modeled for you when you were growing up by the people in your life, mainly the adults in your life. And of course, when you're young, your brains are very changeable, very easily influenced. And if you're around people that are consistently focusing on the negative and minimizing positives, whether it's about you or some circumstance or themselves, that really does create that rut or that pattern in your own brain. So those are just a few signs. There are many more that could be some possible signs, but those are at least some things to get you started to think about your own story. And again, don't diagnose yourself. This is something to maybe talk to a therapist about, just to see if there's actually something that needs to be dealt with on a more serious level.
I can't add anything from a therapist perspective, but what I can say is my tip is to seek the help of a professional.
There you go.
Thank you for joining Shark and Trey on the Here's How We Get There show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show and visit here'showwegetthere.com. That's here'showwegetthere.com.